Okay, some of you are coming in right now, so I'm just probably gonna like get started because I don't have that much time. But something that seems to be a hot topic and it seems to be a really big issue for men that they're not understanding of why women pulling away and you don't know why and what to do about it, right? Like how do you handle those situations? So I'm gonna paint a picture, right? First of all, hello for everyone who just joined again. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to paint a picture about this, about why women pull away and why you don't know why. So most men are really good men, all right? This like bullshit of women saying like men suck, blah, blah, blah. I don't find that in my experience. We meet a lot of good men and they're doing everything right, right? Like you show up, you provide, you don't cheat, you're just not a bad guy. But then she's cold and distant for some reason, and you're kind of like, what the fuck, right? Like maybe she's snapping at you over nothing. Maybe the intimacy has dried up and you don't know why. And then most of you who that share with us or work with us, you're sitting there thinking like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, can I get a thumbs up for anyone who relates to this or has felt their woman pull away and they don't know why? Just so I can kind of see where everyone's at. Yes, no, maybe so. But here's the thing that I really want you guys to kind of sit with. And I'm always going to give you guys the raw truth, but so it's always a lot of love behind it, right? I'm just here to kind of help and direct. But the fact that you don't know what's wrong is probably the problem, right? Because she knows why she's pulling away. And she might have been trying to tell you, but women communicate so differently that you're maybe not picking up on it. Because it's not always with words with us. Like the feminine does not always communicate through words. But somehow she's probably been telling you. And then I'm going to go a little deeper here. So if that's cool with you guys, I'm going to go deeper. Hi, everyone who's joining. Like what happens that we see a lot is men are outsourcing their emotional intelligence to her, right? So like the most men that we work with, have spent years, and I mean like years, being incredibly competent in every area of their life. Like they have successful businesses, their fitness is dialed in, blah, 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 all those external areas, except the inner world, which really reflects in your relationships. Because I know these high level men that we work with, you guys know how to execute, you know how to solve problems. But when it comes to understanding what's happening inside you emotionally, it's like a lot of men go to her to tell him what's going on emotional. And this is where things go kind of south, right? Because what that does to a woman is it exhausts her. Okay, it puts her in a position she never really wanted or designed for, like being your emotional mirror is what I'll call it. Because being your mirror and like your translator and your mother is not gonna work for her or the attraction. And the moment she starts to feel like your caretaker and not your partner, the attraction starts to die. So someone give me a thumbs up if this is it sublingual messages, like they give you hints, not say outright. Yeah, it could be. We're very feeling emotion and like watch our actions, right? And part of that is also on the woman, right? If she's not committed to her growth or her journey and doesn't work on expressing herself vulnerably, then that's on her as well. But there is a way a man can learn how to hold the space or that safe container for her to be able to express herself in a way where it's going to avoid a lot of the issues that men deal with. And so, when the attraction starts to die with all those things I was saying, like the caretaker and like more of like the mothering energy, which is not your fault. It's not because she doesn't love you. It's probably because she's fucking exhausted and tired. And I know that's hard to hear for you because it's hard, right? But just stay with me because we're going to go even deeper. So the problem that happens with women pulling away, men don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. The result is men lose themselves. This is another common issue that we see with the men that we talk to and work with, is that they have lost themselves somewhere along the relationship. Like, can someone give me a thumbs up if they relate or they have experienced losing themselves in a past relationship, or that's what they're currently dealing with, where it's like you wake up and you're like, I don't even know who the fuck I am anymore, and you're just not the same. So if that's something you guys deal with, give me a thumbs up because it's a very common issue that I hear. So, because like somewhere along the way, and sometimes it's gradual, but Maybe it was one relationship that kind of like broke you open. You learned that to keep a woman, you had to kind of shrink yourself. Yeah, there are those thumbs up. Thanks, guys. Right? So you think you have to kind of shrink yourself to keep her. And usually what's the deeper rooted thing there is that there's this unresolved anxiety and unsettling feeling with yourself. It's like you want to, the place we want to get you men to is you are so fucking confident and in love with yourself that it doesn't matter if she walks away or not. Not saying you want her to walk away, but that's the key thing that we do. Because somewhere along the way, I told you, you learned that to keep a woman, you had to shrink or you had to please her and you had to say yes to everything and do whatever she wants. And so like what happens when you do that is you actually stop saying or doing what you actually wanted, right? So that's the pattern that happens is men don't actually understand how to deal with women or how we operate. And what happens is our emotions are so strong and fucking big because we're feminine that you don't know what to do in certain situations. So instead of standing firm in your standards or what you expect or what you want to be treated, you let those go just because she's being like emotional or chaotic or you don't know what to do or you're afraid to lose her or all the above, right? And this is very, very common. And so, yeah, you stopped kind of like being you and just started agreeing and accommodating to everything. And so you started to kind of like a lot of men, most men actually will manage her emotions instead of managing their own first, right? And so you kind of, you're abandoning your own standards, self, emotions, whatever you want to call it, because the fear of losing her is louder than your own self-respect, if that makes sense. Can someone give me a thumbs up if this is like making sense? And a lot of you call that love. You call that love when you are doing everything for her and pleasing her and always like managing her emotions and everything's around her mood and blah, 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 blah. And like you guys call that love. And you think it's like, oh, it's really great, but you feel like shit inside, right? Right. Someone gave me a thumbs up. Thank you. But it's not love. What that is fucking fear. Okay. A lot of us are operating in fear. Why? Because at the core of it, at the core wound of most humans, I'm just going to give you the answer is that we don't feel enough. All right. That's really the core wound. But how do you even start to become aware of that? And what do you do about that? Right. That's the process. That's the deeper rooted work. So that I'm just giving you the answers here, but women will feel that's that fear, that anxiety, right? I hear this a lot, this anxious attached label that's out there. I use that term in my content, by the way, because it's just common knowledge. I don't really fall into the attachment labeling. It's all deeper rooted shit, right? Wounds, traumas, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But you guys just seem to understand anxious attached. So I'm just going to call it that because that's how society has decided to agree on these things. But men who are dealing with that anxious attachment style are usually in these situations because they're operating out of fear constantly of losing her. And she senses that, right? We're very intuitive. A woman can feel your energy, if that makes sense, if you guys speak that language. So it's like a sensation, right? They feel it. So the moment a man stops trusting himself, something in us women's like nervous system intuition, we register that. We like pick up on it even if we're not conscious of it. I'm a little different because I'm obviously deeper into this stuff and I've been doing it for years and all that. So don't take me as an example. But most women probably don't even realize that they're picking up on that, but it's the sensation and the intuition that picks up on it. And so she typically can't explain it and she just knows that something is off and then she starts to pull away. Someone give me a thumbs up to make sure I'm not just like spitting bullshit and it's making sense. So what happens typically is that now you're chasing someone who's pulling away and you don't understand why working harder is making it worse, right? This is another common issue is you guys think you need to do more, check in with her more, text her more, tell her more. I don't know what you're doing more of, right? But when you do that, what it does, again, it's like this anxious, needy sense that she has and it makes us draw back. Not BS. Thank you, Carl. Oh, hey, Carlos. So yeah, I hopefully like this is resonating. It seems like it is. So when you put a lot of effort without that solid identity or that groundedness, it doesn't create the attraction you guys are all looking for. It kind of creates that bleh, resentment from her, right? She's turned off. And this pattern will follow you everywhere, unfortunately. And like, just hear this, because again, I always say things with love. I'm not judging you, because you don't know any better. Like, the stuff that Tony and I teach or really understand is not very common knowledge. We have just been through so much, and we've done so much work and worked with like thousands of people and spent thousands of dollars on different programs and coaching. And so we've just kind of taken everything we've learned in our experiences and put it all in one. You're welcome. But so this pattern will typically follow you everywhere. And again, I'm going to say this with love, because this isn't about her. This relationship, this last one you had, or the one before, all the relationships you had, the common thread is not the women. And this one's going to be hard for you to hear. And I'm always here to call you out, because that's what I do. Otherwise, you will stay the same forever, right? So the problem isn't the women. The common denominator is you, right? It's the version of you that shows up with them. Does that make sense, guys? I know it's a little harsh, but it's needed to hear, right? Someone's got to tell it to you, because everyone else is like, oh, fuck her, she sucked. Yes, she probably did suck, but why did you allow that? It always comes back to you. And that's what I need you guys to understand, is if you're going to message me and sit there and complain, she did this, she did that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, like, that sucks. I hear you. And why did you allow that? It's always going to come back to you. And a lot of you are too stuck in the victimhood of stuff. And that's okay. That's where you're at in your journey. I just can't help you if you're going to be sitting there pointing the finger. And, I'll teach you this cool thing I learned in one of my courses is like, when you point the finger to someone, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Meaning, when you say something about someone else, I want you to reflect and see where that is within you. Because everything's a mirror and a projection. You've probably heard those terms, and you probably don't understand them so deeply, but I know they're a little hard. But it always comes back to, what am I allowing? Why am I allowing this? Why am I attracting this? What is it within me that keeps having the same kind of woman come into your field, right? It's typically just your deeper rooted wounds. Again, give me a thumbs up, somebody, if this makes sense. Yes, no, maybe so. My hair's crazy, by the way, but that's okay. So the man who over-explains because he's afraid of conflict, losing her, right? The fear, the anxiety I was talking about. And the man who goes quiet when he's hurt because he doesn't know how to express it without feeling weak, right? You men are kind of taught, oh, if I show emotions, I'm weak. Men don't cry. Like, yeah, you fucking do. You're human, all right? It's just different. Maybe so. I'll take a maybe so, Rashi. Thank you. So the man who continuously gives and gives and gives and over-explains and doesn't know how to express himself, and he will eventually wakes up one day feeling kind of like he's invisible and has this resentment and wondering why nobody sees him. Because a lot of men in relationship are dealing with feeling unheard, unseen, disrespected. And those are the main themes I see. So that kind of man will always attract the same dynamic with women. Does this make sense, guys? Because typically you're dating a different woman, but it's the same kind, right? You've heard me say that in some of my posts, right? Different women, same shit. So, and, it really does break my heart, because it's like, no one deserves that, right? And the problem is we as humans, doesn't matter man or woman, what happens is we typically copy and paste the surroundings we were in growing up, right? So if your father didn't show you an example of what it was like to be a grounded masculine man, then how do you know how to do that? That is not common knowledge. That is not something that's being taught out there, right? So it's not your fault that you don't know any better. You typically are just repeating what you see. And the biggest fucked up issue is what you see in movies, right? You see like the guy doing whatever she wants, like the princess treatment and blah, 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 happy wife, happy life. It's like society has brainwashed you men to think that like you're just supposed to stay invisible and do everything she wants so she can be happy. Like, why is it all about her? It's not, right? Gotta drop a great topic. Thanks. So what really breaks my heart, because, I do work with these men and talk to them and help them through this, and I see them, right? I see they're good hearts, and they're not broken. You guys are not broken. I don't care how many times you might think that you're not broken and you're not bad men. You just were never taught how to be in relationship as like that whole grounded standard man, right? Like nobody showed you that. And that's okay. Like there's always room for improvement if that's what you want. Like this is something that isn't an easy process, but it's definitely transformationable, if that's even a word. So, and this is exactly what we do, right? Like, you guys obviously know who I am, I hope, for my content, but my job is to be like the feminine translator for you men, to help you understand how the feminine operates in different situations, how we communicate, what our emotions are like, and how to handle them and what to say. But the biggest part is how do you become that grounded masculine man in order to show up for the feminine. So it's really like a whole thing, and it's really digging deeper into your stuff to understand why you are the way you are and how do you become the version that you're looking to be. And Tony and I work with the high performing men. That's more of our area, what we understand, right? It's like the men who have a business, they're CEOs, entrepreneurs, they work their ass off, they have success, their fitness is pretty good, health's in check, everything's like pretty solid except relationship. All right. You keep, hey Steve, hi. You keep kind of dating women that are the same, and you don't understand why, because you're like, I have the money, I provide, I have a nice car, but like all that shit don't matter at the end of the day if you haven't noticed. Like it's really not, right? And then another thing you'll say, like I hear, is how come women are attracted to that bad boy? Well, there's a reason for that. The bad boy is willing to say no. The bad boy is willing to do whatever the fuck he wants, with like regardless of how she feels about it. And that's why women are attracted to the bad boy. It's not that we want to be treated like shit, but having like a firm, grounded, masculine man who is not afraid to speak up for himself is what's attractive to us. Someone said, I feel like communication skill is a good idea for establishing boundaries. Yeah, it can be, right? It's just having that conversation at that level where it's communicated well and how to communicate that, where it lands for us. I mean, it's no surprise, like women are very sensitive and our feelings get hurt very easily, right? And that's another thing you have to learn how to handle and respond to, if you know what I mean. So these are all the things that Tony and I really focus on in our program, right? We typically have you guys do group program first, because like our stuff's a little bit, I don't want to use the word intense, but it's definitely not like superficial, just like change your mindset. It is a little deeper stuff. So we don't like to just throw you guys in there on the one-on-one unless like we really feel you're aligned with it. But typically what we have you guys do is join our 30-day group program, where you're going to start to understand all this stuff, where we give you the educational videos explaining this stuff a little bit more simple so you can start to understand where you're at, why you're there, and understand the feminine, the masculine dynamics. And then, of course, the nervous system is like one of the biggest pieces we do, because we're all about finding the root, right? We're not like, think about when you go to the doctor and you're like, this is wrong. And then they do the labs and all that. They're like, you're fine. And you're like, I'm not fine. And they don't know what the root cause of it. So then they just tell you, just take ibuprofen or just take this, right? They put the Band-Aid on the symptoms. What we do is we look at the symptoms and we find the deep-rooted issue, why you're having those symptoms. We're not just going to Band-Aid it for you. That's just not what we do. And then the biggest piece is like having standards for yourself. And why is it hard for you men to hold standards when it comes to women specifically? Like, I know you guys have no problem holding your standards at work, right? Most of you are more high performers from what I can tell in my audience. And you guys have no problem telling an employee like, that don't work, or being disciplined with them, or being, what's the word? I don't want to, I guess, more direct, right? You hold your standards at work and you have no problem doing that. But the second a woman starts to be moody or emotional, you like, I don't know what to do, right? So that's pretty much what I want to talk about today. I can't really stay much longer. And something that I always tell you guys you should do, and I probably don't talk about it enough because I just don't. I don't know why. I don't have a why. But we created this respect assessment. And this is very important and very insightful for you guys. It's a free assessment. There's no cost at it. But what it does is it's going to ask you questions, and based off your answers, it will give you a score, like a test, of how much disrespect you are getting right now or allowing in your life, right? So if you feel like she's disrespecting you and all the things I just said resonated with you, and you just feel lost with women, or if you've lost yourself and blah blah blah, all the things I talk about, I would start with this free assessment. I wonder if I can, let's see. Oh yeah, I think I can. I'll drop it in the chat here. It's called respectgains.com. Oh shoot, it changed my words. And what happens is you'll get the score at the end of it, right? And then we will send you a customized personal plan depending on your score, on what you can like start today. It's not going to be like super deep. It's just definitely a good starting point for you to understand how much disrespect you're allowing and what areas you might want to start focusing on, right? Because I want you guys to see where you're at. How can you grow if you don't even know where you're at? So I want you first of all, thank you for joining me, everyone, and listening to my shit. And I want you to leave today kind of knowing this, like the fact that you're here watching this and some of you asking questions and interacting, like that already tells me something about the kind of man you are, right? Like you want to grow. You just need the right map. So I would start at respectgains.com, take the assessment, it's free. And if what you find like really resonates, then you know where to find us. I'm sending you guys all love and see you soon.